Good evening and welcome to day 6 of the Grand Slam of Darts Fallout Bar. We had the good, the bad and the ugly. I won't say which one Dan Simpson is, but Dan, welcome to the show.
How are you doing?
How are you doing, friend?
I'm all right, mate. Yeah, I'm good. I'm still loaded up full of man flu. I'm feeling marginally better than I did yesterday, but I'm still full of sniffles. My voice is hanging by a thread. But I am very much looking forward to the weekend, and I am thankful that that last game just gave me a bit of a livener, because there was a risk of me just being asleep on the sofa at some point this evening. Thankfully, those two at the end did manage to spark some energy back into me. But yeah, it was a funny old night, wasn't it? That funny old night.
Yeah, it certainly delivered at the end. But prior to that, there was just, I guess, moments of some very good stuff. But the other three then probably didn't live up to the expectation that you and Dob built them up to be last night.
Yeah, I know.
You built it not to be, didn't sort of perform. But before we go into tonight's games, just say a quick hello to everyone who's in the chat room. We got Julie, Missy Mad, Jat, Daniel. Then we skipped past the first two names. We won't skip past them, but I get totally where you're coming from, Daniel.
We'll acknowledge that they happened.
James, Juanita's in. Of course, Juanita's in. We have an Australian in the quarterfinal. Of course, Juanita's in. But Dan, let's start from the top then. And Stowe Buntz versus Stephen Bunting. Stowe Buntz versus Andrew Gilding. Stowe Buntz stood over the line 10-5. It wasn't easy on the eye. The most probably pleasing thing on the stage was the attire of Stowe Buntz, which let's hope he's packed enough because he's now going to the Saturday night.
Either that, yeah, or he's
what an achievement it has been for Stowe Buntz.
What a week! What an opportunity! Yeah, and you know, and we're probably gonna. I feel like I'm probably gonna end up using this phrase, and as you know, I've nicked it. Like I'm going to use this phrase probably 3 or 4 times throughout this evening. But you can only beat what's in front of you. Stowe Buntz probably played exactly the level that we've probably expected from him coming into the tournament. You know, if someone had said, averaging 88. 33%, 1 in 3 doubles going in. You think, yeah, it's a good performance, done well. I didn't think it would have been enough to get the best of Andrew Gilding, but Gilding was just not at the races. The scoring, the power that we see from him wasn't really there. The doubles were a mile away, 5 from 26. He's created himself plenty of chances throughout that game and hasn't managed to pin the doubles. Buntz has just, he's beaten what was in front of him, and he did well. He obviously the 5-0 lead. I don't think anybody expected. Anyone at all would have backed him taking all 5 games and 2 breaks a throw. And from that point, it's really hard, no matter who you are. No matter who you are, if you're in there with someone who, if you're playing someone who's averaging 90 and hitting 1 in 3 doubles, you're going to find it very hard to come back from 5-0 down, because they're going to hold their throw. Generally, they're going to be there or thereabouts holding their throw, and that's pretty much what happened. Really, those 2 breaks of throw that came in the first session before the break and got Buntz 5-0 up. They were the only breaks of throw in the match. And from that onwards, Buntz just held his throw and held his throw and held his throw, and away he went. He was done. Relatively simple in the end, but impressive to see. Good to see a North American making it through. We know Darts is on the up there, and Buntz has had a good year. I think it can only represent the tour and the Darts scene over there very well. Still got an outside chance at a tour card.
Yes, he has. And just, there's a few things on. We'll come back to Buntz. Just, there's on Andrew Gilding. This year is always going to be a very good year for Andrew Gilding because he's a UK Open champion. That was beyond the expectations of probably what Gilding had for the year. But is that, when you see performances like today, does that make that UK Open an even bigger shot and more of a one-off that actually 12 months ago, if Andrew Gilding would have performed like this, maybe we wouldn't have had as big a question marks or wouldn't be as surprised as we are. And it goes back to, I look, one stat that stands out for me, Danny, is he won 180 in the group stages. He had 7 tonight. But the story, and he only 1,200 pluses, 9 140s. It just goes to show that there was a total lack of inconsistency from Andrew Gilding. How he gets 7 180s with them darts still is beyond me. Does the barrel still like one? But it just, I guess with Gilding, have we just seen the best of him of the UK Open, and that is that sort of weekend is what we can see from him then, and this down into a London format now, probably will see the struggle from him.
I think what we saw then is it's consistency. Like, we know he has got the game, and at any moment, I do think that we've seen more. We've seen him being able to find that level more after the win than before the win. You know, I think he is sustaining that level up in that end of the rankings since the big win. We're seeing more bigger performance from him, more regular than we used to. But I just think winning that tournament, he just managed to put it together over a weekend. You know, he managed to put 3, 4, 5 games together. At the minute, you're still, you know, he's still there or thereabouts at all these tournaments. He's still a danger. He's still, you know, people still have their eye on him. How long that lasts for, I'm not sure. You know, in 2 or 3 years' time, will he just become a player that once won something? And I still think he carries a bit of threat at the minute, and people are wary of him. But time will tell, I think.
Yeah, and I guess tonight we sort of will look aside at performance and just look at the result, and the result is all around Stowe Buntz. So before we just talk about Stowe Buntz a little bit more, let's hear from the man himself.
You know, 3 games from a potential major PDC title. Are you daring to dream yet?
No. Again, one match at a time. I'll worry about my next match here in a couple hours after I go savor the moment, hang out, and enjoy the rest of the event tonight.
It's just giving you a taste of what could be. I know you said that you've got other commitments and whatever, but is this making you rethink those plans the further you get?
No, sir. One day I'll come over here and give the old Q school a whirl, try to get a tour card. But right now my concentration is supporting my family, providing for my family, and getting my kids out of the house, getting them into college, and pay for all of that. Well, obviously I wouldn't turn the card down because I think just having a card, you qualify for the UK Open, right? Yeah, so I would definitely re-rack my schedule to at least make an attempt to come play the UK Open. And one of my good friends, Gary Mawson, did very well in the UK Open many years ago. So if magically I got a PDC tour card, then I would venture over here and play some events, but it would not be a full-time thing, not even close.
Refreshing and honest to hear from Stowe Buntz there. And I guess one stat I have pulled off, and I'm going to just quote it from Ben Hood on Twitter. First American to reach the Grand Slam quarterfinals. First American since Gary Mawson, you mentioned there, in 2008 to reach a major quarterfinal. Stowe Buntz is starting to create a bit of history for himself. It's been a great year, great few months with the CDC title. Can the run continue?
I mean, it can. I think the thing that will disappoint a lot of darts fans is probably in the content of that interview there. In that, I think because of the way we've all been quite excited about seeing him play over here, and we know what he's capable of, and he's a character, and he's entertaining, and he comes with the outfits, and I think lots of people think he would be a fantastic addition to the tour. You know, we like to see him at all the events. We like to see him on TV, and he's made it quite clear that that's probably not what we're gonna get, regardless of what happens. So I think that does underwhelm a little bit, and it just sort of makes you think, oh, that's a bit of a shame. But I know we'll probably come to it later on. This is a funny old tournament now. It's a really strange tournament. You know, we haven't spoilers for later on. You know, there is nobody left in this tournament in the quarterfinals that's ever won it before. Like, this is a really odd tournament, and who knows what we could see.
Yeah, and that's the word odd teases up perfectly to match number 2, Dan. The Nops in this one just continue to say, so many missed doubles, so many missed doubles, so many missed doubles. And the day we're talking about is Stephen Bunting beating Danny Noppert 10-4. Danny Noppert just didn't seem comfortable on the stage at any point. And Stephen Bunting, to his credit, found a performance which is probably the right way to put it. I'll say, Dan, actually, he found a performance. It wasn't outstanding, it wasn't great. He found a performance and cleaned up when opportunities were given to him, and got the win very, very convincingly.
Yeah, they were. I mean, let's be honest. They were both a mile away from their best, and it was in stages of that game. It was almost a battle as to who could find anything, because there was spells where neither of them could, and I just think you're right. It was Bunting that could find something here and there, and just managed to pick legs up, and he did. There was little spells. There was a little spell in the middle. Sort of around sort of the 7th, 8th leg when 180 started to go in, and I thought, it's gonna kick into. Actually, no, they both started just all of a sudden over a couple of legs hitting. There was some 140s, 180s. I thought, here we go, and then it just sort of dropped in on the leg, sort of backed off again, and we saw the more missed doubles. And yeah, really, I think Danny Noppert will be really disappointing. He's coming to this stage of the tournament as one of the highest ranked players left in, coming world number 7. I know Bunting's a big threat and Bunting's a danger, and he's been playing really, really well. But Danny Noppert would have looked at this draw, and certainly who's what the side of the draw he's in, and he might have fancied getting deep into this and going on a run. I think he'll be really disappointed with the performance he put in tonight.
Yeah, I think it's one of them where the result here, because of the form of Stephen Bunting, Noppert will still be favourite, but the form of Stephen Bunting over the last few months, would be no surprise if someone would say to you that Stephen Bunting's beat Noppert. There probably wouldn't be that huge element of surprise as a form. However, the scoreline, and then seeing that he's won with that scoreline with only a 90 average, probably is the surprise. Moving forward, and obviously we don't go into predictions on Saturday night, but from a mindset of Stephen Bunting, now he's got to be looking that he should be in a semi-final. And that's not as a disrespectful to Stowe Buntz, but if you think you've got to a quarter-final to someone who's never been there on a PDC stage, your levels have got to be a tiny bit worse than what I did tonight.
Oh, 100%.
Huge favourite.
And again, I think he's going to look at, again, we won't do the spoilers yet, but I think if you're Stephen Bunting, knowing the form that you're in, he's going to probably, and again, with the greatest respect to the other players in there, if someone had said to him, look, you've got Heta or Cross in a semi-final for a spot in the final, he's taking that all day long before the tournament, isn't he? Out of that quarter of the draw.
Just on that as well, is that the worry though? As much as you take it, is that now the worry in the Bunting head?
Potentially. I just think when you look at that quarter of the draw and all the different possibilities that, if that's potentially the route. And I mean exactly the same for Damon Heta and Rob Cross as well. All of them, the players looking at that have got to be thinking, these are all top level players, but there's a real chance at a final there for any one of them. There really is.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm with you on that with all 4 players. And just my one rant of the night. I'm turning to Dob for 20 seconds, Dan. We've got 2 players playing each other in a quarter-final, Bunting and Buntz, who played a few days ago in a group stage.
It's a stupid... I said last night, it's ridiculous. It makes an absolute mockery. This is potentially one of the best tournaments that we've got. Like the way that it's put together, the way the qualification process is, like it's worth it. The tournament deserves better. I would honestly rather they threw it in and did an open draw. I would honestly prefer an open draw at that I'd genuinely rather an
Last
open draw at the second round. Yeah, play your group games. If you get through them, we do it. That would be preferable to this absolute garbage.
I will deal with that. Apart from, I wouldn't do it at last 16 because I think there should be a benefit of being first or second. So you could have had the last 16 and then your final 8 then being.
Yeah, that's fine. I take that. Yeah.
However, we'll stop moaning and we'll hear from Stephen Bunting talking about his win tonight and his quarter-final opponent.
Not unless he takes them legs and puts them on his legs. Yeah, it's totally different. Listen, when I played Stowe the first time, I didn't really know what to expect. I was slightly nervous and I got caught out. Now I know what to expect and how good he can be. Hopefully he watches that game and thinks that I'm going to play like that again, because I can promise you now I won't play like that again. I'd like to think so, but like we touched on before, I think I'm very fortunate that Danny didn't play his best game. Obviously I'm through now, so I can forget about that game and look forward to playing Buntz, but like I said, I'll be 100% focused on that game. I'll make sure I do everything right the next couple of days and I'll be ready for that. Yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident to go and win it, but if I play like that, I'll be going home. So simple as that. But there's a lot of hours now between now and my next game, and I'll be making sure that I do everything right to be ready for that game.
Stephen Bunting seems like he's going to be ready for that quarter-final. And Dan, we move on to the third last 16 game and the surprise of the night. Surprise of the night, I guess, result-wise, people would say that Damon can beat Michael. He's beat Michael before.
Yeah,
I would probably say surprise of the night, just to rephrase it on the performance of Michael van Gerwen.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I want to, it can't be underestimated. And no one's going to argue that Michael van Gerwen was close to his best in that game. But Damon Heta has gone 56% on his doubles. He's gone 10 from 18 on his doubles.
Ridiculous.
His finishing was ruthless. And the thing is, against players who aren't finishing like that and who aren't playing at that level and having a game that appear that comfortable at the hockey, Michael van Gerwen's got away with loads of performances like that. Loads of Michael van Gerwen's turned up, averaged 95, and won matches loads of times and got away with it. And Damon Heta tonight did not let him get away with anything, because whenever Michael wasn't on, which was, let's be honest, for vast portions of that game, Damon was there constantly. And I think it was at 4-all. Damon broke Michael. That was the break, and then he broke him again a couple of legs later, and he just picked his pocket a few times, and every time Michael wasn't there, the checkouts and the doubling was just absolutely superb. So yeah, it's easy to point the finger and say, Michael had a stinker, but you can't really argue with the numbers, and Damon did very, very well there.
Yeah, I think my assessment of the game was at 3-2 to MVG, the first break. My first thought was, how has this happened?
Yeah.
Is it nerves? Is it nerves from Damon? Because MVG was very, very poor. Probably the poorest part of his game was in those 5 and found a way. Then he went 4-2 up, and it was like Damon cannot afford to be behind at that second break, because there'll be question marks about how am I losing this game with Michael at that manner of performance. The fact then from 4-2 to MVG, we saw Damon then go to winning 6 out the next 7 and be 85 up, just because of outstanding finishing. There was hardly any misses in that spell. For me, that showed why, from having a quick look at Darts rankings as well, that why Damon Heta is now provisionally world number 10. Because I'm not sure Heta would have won that game previously, because of playing Michael van Gerwen, because of the London format. But actually, the experience he's now getting on stage just shows that he's world number 10 for a reason, Dan, or provisionally world number 10 for a reason, because his story wasn't great today. His general game up to 200 and less wasn't the Heta we've seen. but his finishing was ridiculous, world class.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, and that's it. As like, I do think it's important to say, you know, it's not the story of that game shouldn't be Michael Van Gerwen's had a stinker, because you know he still averaged 95. Like, that's not bad. Yeah. He wasn't, you know, triple A, you know, at his best, Michael Van Gerwen, but we don't see that Michael Van Gerwen a great deal these days. You know, we don't see a lot of that. And he's still a big threat, and he's still one of the best players in the world. He's still sat there in number 3. And like I say, there's a lot of games where he plays at that level and wins them. Loads of them, all the time, all year round on the tour. He wins games playing like that. Damon just didn't allow any mistakes to not be capitalised on, and was straight in on those doubles. Was really good.
We will carry on the conversation about Heta. However, as you mentioned there, Michael Van Gerwen being a big threat. Let's hear from Heta himself.
Yeah, as a win, absolute great. No matter how bad or good I play, it doesn't matter. But obviously Michael didn't turn up. I mean, I like to think, well, I didn't probably even turn up either, to be fair. So when the chances arise and I took them, giddy up. You're going to take that every day of the week. It's Michael Van Gerwen, you know what I mean? So, yeah, happy days. I'm on to the next stage, and who cares? I'll forget about that and move on.
Beforehand, Michael always had this aura around him on the stage, but is those days long gone now where you guys feel you can get at him?
Yeah, I've always felt that myself. You always bring your own game when it's MVG, don't you? You only bring your own game, because what else you got to rely on? You know what he can produce, so that's irrelevant. That's what I feel. And the standard of players these days, they like to step up and beat these guys, and they love all the attention around it when you do beat him, because it gets talked about, doesn't it? Oh, Van Gerwen's out. He lost to so and so who's ranked this and this, but I like to see myself that, you know, I've beat him a few times now. You know what I mean? Whether at a stage or not, I've done that. So there's no reason why I can't keep on doing it. And I just felt tonight I got probably a little bit lucky, to be fair, and I just took my chances, and that's how I felt.
Dan, it's like you teed me up for that one. I had a quick listen to that, and I think Mr. Bars teed Damon Heta up perfectly for that one, about the aura of Michael Van Gerwen and how people approach that day now, or people approach Michael, seems to have changed, and we've seen that today with Heta.
Yeah, but I do think we have seen a bigger. There is a much better spread in terms of the balance of talent across that top 16, probably than ever before. The depth of talent in that, because the true reality is, for a large portion of time, you know, the top 3 or 4 were untouchable virtually. You know, the top 3 or 4 players in the world were the distance between, you know, 4th and 8th, 9th, 10th was huge, and it just isn't anymore. Like, the gaps have narrowed so much, and that talent pool is so tight in that sort of top 8 through 12 through 16 that I think that's just, you know, that's naturally gonna happen. But yeah, he's not carrying the aura that he used to. But I think it would take very little for that to come back. You know, I think one big performance in the early rounds at the Palace, and all of a sudden it's back again, isn't it?
Yeah, that can happen with Michael. But I guess to leave the Dame 3, we have to finish on Damon Heta. World Match Play quarterfinalist, Grand Slam now quarterfinalist. As I said, provisionally world number 10. Has he got to now make that next step, that semi-final? Because we know the game's there. There's still going to be them question marks until he's in a semi-final and final around the TV game. Is that step needed right now, Dan?
I don't think it's a rush, because I think he's playing well in most of the. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's not. What have we seen for the last couple of years? Quarterfinals UK Open, quarterfinal UK Open last year, quarterfinal match play this year.
Quarterfinal Slam. Obviously, we've seen the
World
Cup.
We've had a couple of quarterfinals. So we've had 2 quarterfinals this year. I don't know. I don't know whether I don't think it would be fair to point the finger and say he should be making semi-finals. And I think that is because Like, there's so much depth of talent in there that, like, you know, making a quarter-final is massive. But I think harder than it's ever been to get to a quarter-final in a major. Because there's so many, you know, quarter-final you've got down to the last 8. Well, the top 8 in the world are amazing. So the top 12, so the top 16. Like, quarter-final's massive. I don't think he's a mile away, though. You know, certainly you look at, you know, something like the Players' Championship coming up. You know, I would not be surprised to see him have a run in the Players' Championship, you know, to see a quarter-final. I think if we're going to see a semi from him, Players' Championship finals might be where it comes. Yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me if it happened.
If we clip that last few lines, if we see a semi from him, it's going to be the Players' Championship if it comes. That could be used for so many different other things.
Honestly, there's been
anyway, we'll move on because it's late on
There's
Thursday
been a
night.
lot of
We'll move on
opportunity for
very
that this
quickly.
week.
We'll move on as well because we saved the best till last. As we said, Dan, you was nodding off at this point and came to life when Rob Cross and Nathan Aspinall came to stage, because what a start, and that just continued throughout. Great performance by both Cross and Aspinall, but that early lead seemed to be pivotal for Cross getting over the line.
Yeah, and you know, Gob and I spent quite a lot of time yesterday talking about how crap this game was going to be.
I had a nice listen about that this morning, so I was smirking to myself.
Yeah, it was going to be boring. It was going to be scrappy, and they were both going to be averaging 84, and it was going to couldn't have been further from what we saw. And it was absolutely superb. As I said, you know, it got it off. It dragged me off the sofa and got me sat bolt upright watching it. When does somebody lose a game of darts averaging 103 with 61% on doubles? Find me an example of when that's ever happened. So if someone's averaged 103 in an 18-leg game, and they've been 61% on doubles averaging 103, and they don't win. Like, that's absolutely bonkers. And it shows, like, Rob Cross in the early stage of this game to get to 4-1 up was so good. And there's the consistency of the way that he closed those legs out. I know there was only one break in there, but through the entire match, and I know it was right at the end at 9-8 when Nathan finally got a break of throw, but Rob Cross just did not look like he was going to get broken all game at all. He was so solid. His scoring, his doubling, just everything he did just seemed really measured, really controlled. And for me, that's, you know, we talked this week about seeing big performances and maybe, you know, getting a bit excited about, you know, could this be somebody going on to do something? You know, is Gary Anderson back? Are we going to see Luke Humphries pick up another piece of silverware? But that I watched that, and certainly the first 2/3 of that game, and I thought, like, what mode is Rob Cross growing into in these massive 3 months with 3 majors coming up? Rob Cross can carry 2/3 of that form on for the next couple of months. He's going to be properly dangerous. It was. I mean, Nathan was amazing, but we're going to talk more about Rob Cross because he won the match. But it was just superb, highly entertaining, some really, really good stuff. Proper back and forth, really good.
Yeah, totally agree. We'll come back to Rob Cross, but just talking about Nathan a little bit. That is now Nathan Aspinall done until the World Championships. Yes, you are leaving with the confidence of a very good performance. Very good's probably harsh. A world-class performance, but not then over the line. Is it now a worry that there's no competitive action for Nathan for potentially over a month, depending on when he's drawing and when he plays? That's got to be a worry.
I think...
And Dan, I know you're going to be in the Mrs. Dud Butts by spending the weekend with her for a 30th. But you'd been there even more if you was taking home 600 grand from the World Championships. There's got to be that.
Well, yeah, this is the. I don't know. I think there are some players that would benefit from but let's be honest, that's assuming. So we're saying, is it going to be a big miss? You know, is it going to hurt his chances at the World Championships not going to the Players? that's on the assumption that he goes to Players' Championship finals and makes a quarter or a semi. You know, if he went to the Players' Championship finals and got knocked out in the first round, it could do more damage than good.
Yeah,
You know,
could do that.
like, you know, he's going to go to the Palace, and the last game he's played in, he's done 60% on his doubles. He's averaged 106, and he's had a nice little break for a month. He's going to go in fresh as a daisy. There's a case to be made that he could go. I mean, you know, just so you know, like Nathan Aspinall's record at the Players' Championship finals is garbage. Since 2018, he's done second round, first round, second round, first round. And Nathan Aspinall does not do well in my head for the Players' Championship finals ever. So I'm not so sure, if I'm honest. I don't know whether he might be better off giving it a miss and just going straight to Palace.
Well, we will soon see it as the World Championships is now getting ever closer and closer. But let's return back to our winner and Rob Frost, who his post-match interview on stage was quite brash. We'll talk about Nathan Aspinall, and I'm sure he's got a word or two about Michael van Derwen. Let's hear from Rob Frost.
Oh dear, I wouldn't say that, you know. I know what I'm like, and it could all go back to normal tomorrow, you know. I shouldn't say that, but look, darts is darts, and you have to get up there and you have to perform. I want to perform. I want to put the best performance on what I can. Not just for me, maybe the crowd now, maybe just taking everything in and wanting to perform. And I think sort of with the experience what I've got now, I'm able to do that. I'm lucky, I can sort of switch off, and the more I switch off, the better I am. But realistically, sort of to say you win it, you're 3 out, it means nothing, you know.
When you're on last, obviously you see the night unfold. When Michael crashes out, does your mindset change at all?
No, not really. You've got Nathan Aspinall and he's dangerous, you know. You've got to go up there, you've got to perform like tonight, and if you don't, you'll go home, like I said last night in my last interview. But I think, yeah, look, when he crashes, it's not much of a shock than when I started the game, you know. When I started this game 7 years ago, Michael was winning most, and credit to him, and now he's, I'm not saying he's winning nothing and not putting him down, but at the same time he doesn't win as much. I think the mindset's very, very good. Look, to achieve what Phil's done and dominate, it's impossible. You really got to look at it, but at the same time, I said it, I want to come in, I want to win everything, and if you're competing and giving yourself chances, I suppose that's all you can ask these days, because look, the field, the players, everyone's too strong, you know, but you have to be a little bit biased to yourself at the end of the day and want more, and if you don't want it, go home.
Fair enough.
If you don't want it, go home. And as he says that, we have 8 players remaining in the Grand Slam of Darts, Dan. So it's about time we go to predictions for 2 of those games, which we move from best of 19 to best of 31 for Friday and Saturday's action. And also into Sunday for the semi-finals. And hopefully, and I say hopefully, I will still be going to the final. But at the minute, Jack Darwood, I made a little comment on the live lounge on Monday that if Wade and Bunting were in the final, I would give up my final tickets to Jack Darwood because I thought his shout was ridiculous. And the chances of that happening are looking a bit better now. However, we will start with...
could be done in here.
We will start with a certain James Wade. He takes on Josh Rott tomorrow, and Dan and chat room that's dead involved with your predictions. I'm going to start this one off though, because I am going on Sunday night. I am absolutely going on Sunday night. That means Josh Rott is beating James Wade tomorrow. I'm telling you.
Fair enough. What you saw? What did you score? What are you going? First to 16, isn't it?
Yes, first 16. My worry with Rott is the tempo of the game. The James Wade will play. He won't change how he plays. He will play at his tempo. I don't think that Wade will slow it down any more than he does normally or speed it up. He will play at his normal pace. I think Rott's scoring will be too much, but it has to be done early on. He has to be at that break after 20 leads with a lead you don't want to be down into a back end of this long format with James Wade on your tail or in front. So I'm going for Josh Rock to win this 16-12.
Well, I think it's a James Wade victory, and he win. I think he'll do a decent job. I think it'll be 16-11 is where I think he'll get. I think James Wade. I think he knows how to win. Josh Rock's never played a competitive match in the PDC of this length. He's never played a game of this length in this format before. We know he starts fast. We know he can come and be really explosive and score really high. He's going to have to maintain that for longer than he's ever maintained it before. Because if he's 7-0 up and he drops, James Wade will start picking legs up. Because James Wade won't peak and trough, and he won't. James Wade he won't peak and trough. He'll come. He'll play the same pace. He'll play probably about the same average for the entire game. He will take at least 2 or 3 ton plus checkouts, and if they're against the darts, he'll give himself. He could just get there. And for me, I just think the experience from James Wade will be key in this one.
Yeah, I see your point. I do think it's important that Roth, when he's not at his A level in the game, he still has to make sure he's competing with Wade and pressuring Wade and putting him on them sort of in them situations where it's more difficult. Yanti Clipper has done Wade 16-14, HGV has done Wade 16-15. I agree in the sense of if it goes to that level that late into a game, the experience will be crucial. But I think Roth will get a nice enough lead after 20, a 12-8 maybe, hopefully a 13-7. And then that will just give him enough to be able to get over the line in that one. And then quarterfinal number 2. And Dan, on paper, the best of the quarterfinals.
Without a shadow of a doubt. This is the box office one.
And not just the best on paper of quarterfinals because of the form of Darren Anderson this year, but it also sees the only seeded player left in this tournament in Luke Humphries. Do we have no seeds in the semi-final? Or does Humphries get over the line?
Heart and head for me, this one. Heart and head.
Well, the head is very bunged up at the minute, Dan. So it might be best.
I'm really struggling. I don't know if you notice, I keep having to mute for a sneezing fit. Like that's what, I am as much as I would like to predict the other way. I'm finding it virtually impossible to not back Luke Humphries. He's just too consistent in his heavy scoring at the minute. That we need to see. Gary's gonna have to keep the level that he had to beat Gezi in order to push this all the way. I think if Gary's not averaging 104, he gets beat in this match. And that's why I think it's Luke Humphries winning 16-13.
This has to have 28-29 at least leads of darts. I can't see how the performance drops of either of these that we don't see that. Just some in the chat room. Joel, just while I'm delaying my decision, Barry's done 16-14, Ando. Joel's on 16-15, Ando in a thriller. HGV's done Darry 16-14. Joel's done Humphries loses with a 107 average. And you know what?
If that happens, you will have seen the greatest game of darts in the history of this tournament.
And Joel, you can probably go and sit with Dob at the Grand Slam.
You can have the other seat.
You can have the other seat that's available. I'm not in the same conversation as Dob and Phil where we say Anderson is back. I'm not there yet because for him to do that, he has to be in back ends of the tournaments.
Yeah, Gary Anderson. When Gary Anderson's there, like he wins stuff, doesn't he?
I feel like I'm down to be watching Darren Anderson on Sunday night. So I think he beat Luke Humphries. I honestly think he beat Luke
I
Humphries.
hope you're right. I hope you're right. But
I'm with every single one in the chat room and you, Dan, that I don't see how this disappoints. It has to be a very, very top game. Even I'd be surprised if they're averaging anything less than 98. And I know that sounds a drop from the 104 and 105, but with the format extending, if we are seeing just 15 darts and less every sort of leg, give or take, there's going to be moments of magic. There's going to be big finishes. The 180s are going to be ridiculous. The pace of the game, we question how slow Dame 1 will be. Luke Humphries will not slow Darren Anderson. Darren Anderson will not slow Luke Humphries. They will just both go at each other. And we are in for a Friday night classic. But Anderson takes the win 16-13. I can't say it's going to be less. Even if I was doing Luke, I think it'd be about the same storyline.
yeah, it is, isn't it? It's up there.
It's that. But if Darren Anderson gets over the line in style against Luke after what he's done with Derwin Price, I will.
He wins it, doesn't he?
I wouldn't have typed his bat into my social media, but I'd probably have the BAC down. I just wouldn't have had the K just yet until he's in that
I
final.
think if he beats Luke, he wins it.
Is the winner of the tournament in that before we go?
In that match?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
For me, I can't see any scenario I cannot see any scenario other than the winner of that match wins the tournament. And again, with the greatest respect to everybody else, I just think one of them is Gary Anderson, for God's sake. And Luke Humphries is arguably playing better darts than anyone else on the planet.
DTB's in total agreement with you. Whoever wins between Luke and Darren wins the event.
Right. Clever lad, I've always said that.
The only reason I question it, Dan, we've got one seed. This tournament's done all over the place. I don't know why we're now assuming that the two best or informed players are just going to go, oh yeah, well, it's one of ours. I suppose
we've seen lots of very, very good players get stuffed, haven't we? Like, and that's
well, I think all is possible. For
me, if you ask me a question, then that's my prediction. Like, that's the answer you're getting.
That's the way out. Okay, Dan. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you on a stream and talking about all things darts. As I said at the start of the show, the good, the bad, and the ugly that we've had on night sits. But tomorrow is going to be a cracker. It has to be, especially that second game. But thanks for Mr. Bars for the interviews. If you have been watching this live, make sure you now go over to the YouTube and you see those interviews in full. If you're watching it back on playback or on your way to work, thanks very much. Hope you've enjoyed the listen. We will be back tomorrow with the Fallout Bar when we're talking about the first two quarterfinalists and talking about the next two quarterfinalists and getting ready for our semi-final lineup. I've been Lee Boyce, and I've been joined by Dad Simpson. Thanks very much, and good night.